Many bass anglers will often overlook the Ned rig during the wintertime, choosing other techniques. The Ned rig is one of the best techniques that you can use throughout the whole entire year, but it really does shine during the wintertime. Don't be fooled into thinking that the Ned rig only catches small fish, because this is further from the truth. My personal best smallmouth was caught on the Ned rig during the wintertime. I have also caught countless other big fish fishing the Ned rig during the winter. Sometimes winter bass will want a smaller presentation, especially when fishing heavy pressured bodies of water and whenever the conditions are tough. This is whenever the Ned rig truly stands out from other techniques. If you can brave the cold temperatures this time of year, you can have a great time out on the water fishing the Ned rig during the winter time. The Ned rig can be such an effective way at targeting bass this time of year, and I will tell you why the Ned rig is one of the most effective techniques that you can use during the winter to catch some huge bass. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on future content. Also, if you feel like supporting the channel even more, make sure you check out my channel membership. This will go directly into the channel to buy gear and to help improve future videos. Let's dive right into why the Ned rig is one of the best techniques that you can use during the winter. One of the reasons why the Ned rig is one of the best bass techniques that you can use during the winter is because of how versatile the Ned rig truly is. There are three things to consider whenever talking about how versatile the Ned rig is: the color of the soft plastic, the bait fish profile you are trying to imitate, and how you can rig the Ned rig. The Ned rig comes in many different colors, but some of my favorites are New Money, Green Pumpkin Goby, and Canada Crawl. These are my go-to colors throughout the whole entire year, but especially during the winter time whenever I'm fishing in clear bodies of water. There's also many different presentations to choose from depending on what forage you are trying to imitate. Some of my favorite soft plastics to use are the Z-Man Finesse TRD, the Z-Man TRD Bugs, and the Z-Man TRD Gobies. There's many different types of soft plastics that you can choose from, so make sure you experiment to see what works best for you and the situation that you are fishing in. It really depends on what forage is in the body of water that you're fishing in. You can also rig the Ned rig many different ways depending on what type of cover that you are fishing around. If you are fishing in more open water situations, you can fish the Ned rig with an exposed hook and you can have a very good hookup ratio. Let's say you're fishing around grass, for example. You can fish your Ned rig with a weed guard so you do not get hung up in the grass as much. You can also rig your Ned rig where it's completely weedless by Texas rigging it. Personally, most of the time I will fish the Ned rig with an exposed hook so I can have the best hookup ratio possible. By doing this though, I will get hung up a lot more often compared to if I was fishing it completely weedless. It really depends on how you like to fish and if you don't mind getting hung up as much. As you can see, the Ned rig is a very versatile technique that you can use during the winter, and it can be fished in many different situations. Make sure whenever you're out during the winter time that you have the Ned rig tied on so you can see how versatile it truly is. The second reason is that the Ned rig is just so simple to fish. The Ned rig can be picked up by many new bass anglers, and chances are they will be able to catch a fish on the Ned rig whenever the conditions get tough. The Ned rig is very easy to fish, but the key to it is making sure that you're using the right rod, reel, and line. These are very important to consider due to the smaller profile of the Ned rig and can be difficult to cast on a heavier setup. By making sure that you use the right setup, the Ned rig will become much more simple to fish and is one of the most effective lures that you can use during the wintertime. I fish the Ned rig on a 7-foot medium light spinning rod so I can feel bites better and cast the Ned rig even further due to having a longer rod. Whenever it comes down to what spinning reel you should choose, I would recommend choosing a spinning reel that has a slower gear ratio so you are forced to slow the Ned rig down whenever you are fishing it. Whenever it comes down to fishing line, I normally like to go with as light of line as I can get away with, but most of the time I will choose 8-pound fluorocarbon. However, you can fish the Ned rig with a braid to fluorocarbon leader so you would feel more bites that you otherwise would have missed. By doing this, you are setting yourself up for success and the Ned rig will become much more easier to fish. When Whenever it comes down to fishing it, one of the most effective ways to use the Ned rig is by slowly letting it sink down to the bottom and then slowly working it back to you. Making sure to add longer pauses can get you a lot more bites too. This is why the Ned rig is such an important technique to have in your arsenal. No matter if you're new or an experienced angler, the Ned rig will help you catch more bass during the wintertime. Since the Ned rig is so simple to fish, there's not as much of a learning curve and is great whenever the bite gets tough like it does in the winter. No matter how long you've been bass fishing, the Ned rig can produce some good quality bites for you this winter. The third reason why the Ned rig is one of the most effective lures to use during the wintertime is because of its lifelike action when moved throughout the water column. Whenever I'm fishing the Ned rig during the winter, I will exclusively use the Z-Man Elastics due to their buoyancy. The Z-Man Elastics are designed to not lay on the bottom like many other soft plastics on the market and instead stand upright. This makes the Ned rig look very lifelike, especially whenever you're fishing it during the wintertime. I have caught some nice bass fishing the Z-Man Elastics during the wintertime, and its lifelike action can trick even the most pressured bass to bite. The lifelike action is especially crucial during the wintertime because you will not get as many bites fishing another type of soft plastic that just lays on the bottom compared to using a Z-Man Elastics that will stand upright. I have tried countless other soft plastics on the market, and I will always come back to the Z-Man Elastics, especially the Z-Man Finesse TRD. The Finesse TRD is a proven fish catcher and has some great action whenever just sitting there on the bottom. The Ned rig will just sit there and slowly move back and forth, and this will trigger a reaction strike out of the bass. The lifelike action works especially well whenever the water temperature drops. I can fish the Finesse TRD during the wintertime and know that I will get a fish to bite no matter the conditions. Make sure whenever you're fishing the Ned rig this winter that you use the Z-Man Elastics to get the most bites possible. The fourth reason why the Ned rig is the best wintertime technique is because of how effective it truly is this time of year. The Ned rig does well throughout the whole entire year and truly does shine during the wintertime whenever the bite gets tough. The Ned rig's simple action makes it look very realistic in the water and drives the bass absolutely crazy. It's my confidence lure that I know I can get a bite on whenever they will not commit to any other presentation. During the winter, the bass in the forage will start to slow down because their metabolism will start to drop because of the colder water temperatures. The bass in the forage will not waste hardly any energy this time of year, so a small and easy meal can be just the ticket into tricking them to bite. This is whenever the Ned rig truly comes into play. The Ned rig does best in my opinion whenever it's sitting on the bottom and slowly moving back and forth. This looks very realistic to the forage that the bass will be feeding on during the winter and is one of the best ways to get bass to bite whenever the water temperature drops. The subtle action of the Ned rig is why this presentation is truly one of the best wintertime presentations that you can use whenever the bite gets tough. You can catch a lot of bass using the Ned rig, and you will catch some with some size, especially during the wintertime. Whenever the water temperature is low, I will always have the Ned rig tied on to target bass that will not commit to any other presentation. In my opinion, there's truly not a better presentation that you can use whenever the water temperatures are low and the conditions are not in your favor. Make sure whenever you're fishing this wintertime that you have the Ned rig tied on and you can potentially catch your next personal best bass. The fifth reason why the Ned rig is one of the best wintertime techniques is how many different ways that you can retrieve it. The Ned rig can be retrieved many different ways, and sometimes the bass will bite one retrieve more than the other. It is important to experiment with different retrieves whenever you're out on the water so you can get the most bites as possible whenever you're fishing the Ned rig. During the winter, I will normally use 4 different retrieves. The first retrieve that I like to use is popping my rod and letting the Ned rig fall to the bottom, making sure that I pause it. This is the most common retrieve that anglers use whenever fishing the Ned rig and is truly an effective way at targeting bass during the wintertime. Whenever I'm doing this retrieve, I will normally fish it as slow as possible so I can get the most bites. This is one of my favorite retrieves to do throughout the whole entire year, especially whenever the water temperatures are very low. The second retrieve is swimming the Ned rig. Swimming the Ned rig is one of my favorite ways to change up the retrieve, and it works surprisingly well throughout the wintertime. This is a good way to target suspended bass or bass that are focused on schooling bait fish. This method also shines whenever you give it a pause while you are swimming it. In my opinion, this resembles a dying bait fish when the Ned rig starts to fall. all. This retrieve will drive the bass absolutely crazy and get them to bite your Ned rig. The third retrieve is fishing the Ned rig vertically. You can fish the Ned rig vertically whenever you are on top of schooling bass by letting the Ned rig sink to the bottom and popping your rod a few times. By doing this, you can trigger a predatory response out of the bass and you can get them to feed. I have used this retrieve before, especially whenever I find schooling bass and I want to stay on top of them. The fourth retrieve that I like to use is called dead sticking. Dead sticking is whenever you let the Ned rig sink slowly to the bottom and just letting it simply sit there. This shines in very heavily pressured bodies of water and whenever the temperatures are very low. Dead sticking is often overlooked by many anglers and is one of the best retrieves that you can do during the winter time, especially whenever the water temperatures are very low. If you have not tried this retrieve out, you are missing out on one of the best retrieves that you can do throughout the winter time whenever the bite gets tough. This also really shines if you target smallmouth in the river. The current will carry the Ned rig across the bottom and the smallmouth just cannot resist it. Another thing to consider whenever fishing the Ned rig during the winter time is making sure that you fish the Ned rig very slowly. If you think you're fishing it slow enough, slow down even more. This will help you get more bites whenever you're out on the water and you will be able to pick apart a spot much more efficiently. Let me know in the comments section down below what your favorite retrieve is to use during the winter time. Hopefully this video has convinced you to throw the Ned rig more often this winter and why it truly is one of the most effective lures you can throw this time of year. The Ned rig is one of my confidence lures to use during the winter time, and by using it you will greatly increase the quantity and the quality of the bass you catch whenever the water temperatures drop. Let me know if this video helped you in the comment section down below. Also, let me know in the comment section down below whenever your favorite time to throw the Ned rig is. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button to help the video in the YouTube algorithm so more people can get recommended this video. If you are not subscribed, I would love to have you join the channel. Also, if you feel like supporting the channel even more, make sure you check out my channel membership. This will go directly back into the channel and make sure that I can produce the best quality content for y'all. If you want to check out another proven fish catcher during the winter time, make sure you check out this video right here talking about the jig.